All right, y'all, this is the third and last video for deriving the quadratic formula. And here's where we are. And just to remind you what we're up to, we are taking a quadratic equation, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. That's a quadratic equation. It's like a function, a quadratic function, but instead of having an output y, there's a 0. And we're solving this for x. So at the end of this, we should have x and then a whole bunch of a's and b's and c's and whatever else is necessary so that we know what x is equal to. In other words, we're finding all of the x values in a quadratic function when y is equal to 0. Right? So we're finding, in other words, the x-intercepts. And I just think it's always good to go back and try to understand where we're coming from. So we want x by itself, so it should not be surprising that the next thing we do is we subtract the b over 2a term from both sides of the equation using the subtraction property of equality. And I get this, x is equal to the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And then we have minus b over 2a. Okay. Well, you all know how to subtract fractions that have the same denominator, right? We don't have to do anything fancy. We can combine the fractions with the common denominators on the right side. So now this is going to become x equals, and then instead of writing this as two different terms, we're going to write this as the square root of b squared minus 4ac minus b all over 2a. And we're going to clean this up a little bit. What we usually do is we're going to go with the less complicated thing first, this negative b or minus b. We're going to put that as the first term. And that's customarily how we write this. So x equals, so it's negative b, okay? And then we have this square root. And then we have to go, well, what sign is in front of that square root? But you already know what sign it is. It's plus or minus, right? Because the square root returns both the positive or the negative. So square root of 4 is either 2 or negative 2. So plus or minus b squared minus 4ac. And all of this has a denominator of 2a. Okay, hey, x is by itself. We've done this. Now remember, when we use the radical form of a square root, we only take the positive root, right? We usually only take what we call the principal square root. But in reality, there are two square roots of any number, positive and negative, which is why we write it like this. This is the quadratic formula. So the quadratic formula, if you ever have a quadratic equation, and you want to solve it, so if you have ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, you can solve it. X will be equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right, this is something you're going to have to memorize, and I'm sure that that's already freaking you out. You're like, oh my gosh, I have to memorize. Why do you even try to fix that? Oh yeah. Here's a good way to memorize it. It's a way that I memorize it that might help you. The quadratic formula is x equals, okay, a negative boy couldn't decide, should I go, should I not go? A negative boy couldn't decide whether to go to the radical party. Radical means cool. Because the boy was square. But he missed out on 4 awesome chicks. And the party was all over at 2 a.m. Get that? The quadratic formula, x equals, a negative boy couldn't decide whether to go to the radical party, whether or not to go to the radical party, because the boy was square, but he missed out on 4 awesome chicks. And the whole party was over at 2 a.m. It's so dumb. I'm not, I hate when teachers are always like, oh, look at this cool thing. No, it's not cool. But if something dumb like that can stick in your head and help you remember it, yeah, it's a good thing. In the next section, we're going to go over how we use this. But the idea, remember, is that anytime you have a quadratic equation, or let's say a quadratic function, so this was y, but you want to find the x-intercepts, you can make that y 0. You can solve it, x equals this whole thing. And it's not only the x-intercepts, but if you just have a quadratic equation like this, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, you can solve what x must be by using this formula. All right, everybody, it's been quite a journey with you. I appreciate you coming with me on this thing. It means a lot to me. I hope I see you out there again sometime. Have a good one.